And so it's easy to look at Samson and be like, you idiot, you're that strong, you think that's you? But we all do that. We take pride in the gifts that God has given us. We boast about things that God's doing as if we're the ones that are doing them. It would be foolish for me to boast about the Word of God, the Word that God's given me this morning, because it's not my Word. He gave it to me. But it's very hard to separate your gifts from you. We like to take pride and we like to take credit for things that God does. And I think that was Samson's biggest downfall. So, lo and behold, Samson falls asleep. I can just see the light. Okay, go to sleep. Go to sleep, Samson. And he wakes up with 7 fresh bowstrings that have never been dried. And he's bound up. And Delilah says, the Philistines are coming, the Philistines are coming. And Samson wakes up and pops them. Now, most dudes would be thinking, okay, time out. That was supposed to be hypothetical. And I wake up and I'm bound by bowstrings. What are you trying to do to me? But sometimes women can put that voodoo thing on us. And it makes it impossible to use our brains. Because she says, well, Samson, you made a fool out of me. And I'd be thinking, you tried to kill me. Do you realize your buddies want me dead? But he said, no, baby, I love you. It's nothing like that. She said, well, then tell me the secret to your strength. And he said, well, if you get new ropes that have never been tied, and you tie me up with these new ropes, then I'll be as weak as any other man. Okay, Samson, go to sleep. Hurry. And next thing you know, the Philistines are coming, the Philistines are coming. And Samson wakes up and he's out of it again. You know that old saying, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. This is the second time this girl's done this. But he's so messed up and he's so prideful that he allows her to continue this. And she says, Samson, you must not love me. Is it another woman? Samson, what's the deal? He said, no, baby, I love you. Let me tell you the real secret. Because the other 2 times I told you, I woke up tied up. But I'll tell you a 3rd time. If you weave my hair into the loom, I'll be as weak as any other man. Now, he's starting to flirt with the secret here. He starts out with these totally bogus things, but now he's treading on dangerous ground because the secret is in his hair. And so, okay, Samson, hurry up and go to sleep. And he goes to sleep and she weaves his hair into these 7 cords into this loom. And hurry up, Samson, the Philistines are coming. And he wakes up and I can just imagine he's whooping these guys. This loom just flying around the room because it's tied into his very strong hair. How can you say I love you, she told him, when your heart is not with me? This is the 3rd time you have mocked me and not told me what makes your strength so great. Pay attention to this part. Because she nagged him day after day and pled with him until I'm not saying anything, I'm just reading. Until she wore him out. Well put. I told you I related with Sam. No, I'm just kidding. He told her the whole truth and said to her, my hair has never been cut because I am a Nazirite to God from birth. If I am shaved, my strength will leave me, and I will become weak like any other man. Okay, Samson, go to sleep. She brought some guys in, they shaved his head. And this is where you know that this is a pride issue, is because when Delilah rose up and said, the Philistines are coming, he awoke from his sleep and said, I will escape as I did before and shake myself free. He knew that God had promised him that that was the secret, that as long as you don't do that, I will stay with you. And he knew that that had been removed from him. And he says, I will escape as I did before and shake myself free. Samson was convinced that his strength there was something about him. He didn't really look at it as if it was God's power in his life, because he became prideful. And when he woke up to shake himself free, he realized that God had left him. What about the grace? Well, that's Old Testament. It is. Friends, grace is twofold. Grace redeems us where we fall short, but grace also gives us the power over sin and death. If you would, turn to Romans. Before we go to Romans 8, I'm going to go to Romans 6. I know that wasn't in my notes originally. What should we say then? Should we continue in our sin in order that grace may multiply? Absolutely not. How can we who died to sin still live in it? You see, there's something a little bit flawed with a grace message that we hear a lot, which is, don't worry about your shortcomings. Don't worry about your sin. Don't worry about all that stuff, because the grace of God is sufficient. And it is. But how foolish are we if we've been saved from something to jump right back into it? If you're drowning in the ocean, and I see you, and I'm on a boat, and I happen to have a life ring, and I throw you the life ring, and you grab it, and you say, that's grace. And then when I pull you in the boat, if you jump back in again, that's stupidity. And then if you jump back in again and go, well, I thought there was a grace thing working here, that's foolishness. God's grace covers our sin. But our sin will disconnect us from God and His power. Not because God is a snob. And not because He doesn't love us. But because darkness and light can't be friends. We talked about this last week in youth. For some reason, those two guys can never hang out. If you have light, the darkness flees. If you have dark, the light flees. Or I guess if the light flees, then you have dark. But those two things can never coexist, not because they hate each other or there's something going on there. No, just because they can't exist together. They are opposites. And so if I go into a dark room and I turn on the light, the darkness has to flee. It's the same thing with God and our sin. Where there is sin, God is going to create some space. Because sin and God, they don't mesh. They don't mix well. So, when we choose to sin, know that we're choosing to put some space between God and us.